Ever thought about making a podcast? Well, Anchor is the easiest and simplest way to do so. Let me explain. For starters, it's free. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone, laptop, or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on multiple platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, and much, much more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need in a podcast in one place. So give it a try. Welcome back, everyone, to the podcast that just doesn't stop giving. We're always here for you with any movie news or any movie topics you are looking for. And today I'm always joined by my good friend Sam.
How are we doing today, everyone?
Not too bad.
It's been an interesting week.
Yeah, I'm sure you and I could talk about this past week for about 2 days straight. But everyone knows the stories, and we're not even going to really talk about it because there's nothing to be said. I mean, it's terrible. But
everything is terrible right now. Rest assured, except for the podcast. The podcast is doing well.
So today, I'm sure you can tell by the title, but we're going to be talking a little bit of Coen brothers, I think.
Yes.
We're talking some Joel and Ethan Coen. Some of our favorite directors, your favorite directors. And
my favorite directors, because 2 weeks ago we did Quentin, which is Will's favorite director. The Coens are my favorites. Probably always will be. They have made the most great movies of any filmmaker I would consider. Well, that's not true. Maybe
Spielberg.
Maybe Spielberg or Coppola. I gotta think. It's close.
It'd be up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, them or Kubrick.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Do you agree with me that Stanley Kubrick is massively overrated?
I'm definitely higher on him than you are, and I've come to like him more. But yeah, dude, I can't do 2001. My word.
2001 is the most overrated film ever made. Period.
Maybe it deserves a rewatch. I don't know, but
if you're a casual movie viewer right now and you haven't seen 2001,
A Space Odyssey, 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Yes, watch it and you will be severely disappointed.
Yeah,
severely disappointed. And I can't blame you for that.
So as we've already gone on tangents, which we're known to do, that's our trademarked, patent pending quality of the show. But so we're talking Coen today. But first, I kind of want to do a recurring bit on the show, maybe every week, maybe not. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to call it Link the Actors, maybe? I don't know. I'll come up with some witty title later. But it's basically the 6 degrees to any actor, where I figured out that I'm not too bad at it. I've seen a lot of movies. So essentially, you give 2 actors. We'll just say Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Evans. Why not? Then you would essentially they're even in the same movie together, so that's not a good example. But essentially, you would then put them in a movie, start on one end, and try to get to the other end, saying other actors that they share the screen with. And you have to do it in 6 steps. So, Sam, I think you have 2 actors ready for me. I'm going to see if I can do it. And the thing, one sec, real quick. The thing we're going to do is Sam's going to give me 2 to start. And then if this is kind of a cool thing that we like doing, then we might have you guys, the listener, send in your 2 actors for us to try and do. And if we fail, maybe we'll have to watch a bad movie as kind of punishment. And give our 2 cents on the movie after we watched a terrible
bad movie of your choice.
I like that even better. So Sam, there's no No cost for me here because we have no idea how this is going to go. Sam, what
Right.
do you have 2 actors for me?
I do.
Let's hear it.
Let's do the two actors with the most Italian surnames in all of Hollywood, and that would be Steve Buscemi and Paul Giamatti.
Okay. I feel like Buscemi would be easiest to start with. So I'll go Steve Buscemi in Pulp Fiction,
Okay.
who he shares the screen with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
And then I'm going to go Samuel L. Jackson to Django Unchained with Leonardo DiCaprio. And I'm going to go
Okay.
Leonardo DiCaprio is in... Oh, I just had the link and now I lost it. Is in The Great Gatsby with... crap. Who's... what's that guy's name? The bad Spider-Man actor. Tobey Maguire.
Can I give it? Is that okay?
Tobey Maguire,
I'm
who is in
following along here.
who is in Spider-Man 3 with Thomas Hayden Church, and Thomas Hayden Church is in Sideways with Paul Giamatti. Boom, got it.
No way.
Was that 4 or 5? So I started with Pulp Fiction.
I'm still confirming here. Wait, what was that dude's name in Spider-Man 3? Oh, Thomas Hayden Church.
Thomas Hayden
Never
Church.
heard of him. Oh, I recognize him now. Okay.
And he's in Sideways with Paul Giamatti.
How have you seen Sideways?
Dude,
What?
I love Sideways. Anyone check that out. Sideways is great. Side recommend.
Okay.
So how many was that? So I started with Pulp Fiction, which doesn't count. Your starting movie doesn't count. So I went to Django, Great Gatsby, Spider-Man 3,
2,
Sideways. So I did it in 4.
4,
It's not too bad.
5. What?
No.
Oh, no. Start with Pulp Fiction.
Because Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
4. Yep.
All right, there we go. I think that might be a fun bit we can do. So audience,
That's impressive.
Audience, send in random actors and let's see if I can do it.
That's such an interesting idea.
And if you get me,
I mentioned.
What's that?
Go ahead.
If you get me, actually, when you send in your 2 actors, also attach at the bottom. If you lose, watch this movie, and I will watch that movie if I lose.
And we'll rip it to shreds at the top of the next episode.
So first one done. We got Steve Buscemi to Paul Giamatti.
Do you want to give me 2? I want to see if I can pull this off.
Yeah,
I probably can.
Let me think. So first, while I'm getting 2 actors, start your Coen brothers, like why you like them and so on.
Yes. So today we're talking about the Coen brothers. I think the Coen brothers are incredibly underrated. Just because when people think of them, they think of maybe The Big Lebowski or Fargo. Possibly No Country for Old Men, although that movie is overlooked all the time in light of There Will Be Blood in 2007.
There will be blood.
There will be blood. I got into the Coen brothers through my dad. My dad has seen every Coen brothers movie as they came out, and he was always excited for a new one. And they do have this kind of specific tone. It's usually pretty dramedy-ish. There's always some kind of humor in this like pitch dark comedy. But at the same time, they're incredibly versatile. So they're able to do this thing where they're able to write their own movies, set them in completely different genres, different time periods, different settings, and yet there's always this distinctively Coen feeling to all of them. So they're all very cohesive and just well made altogether. So that's why I think the Coens are my favorite of all time.
Yeah, for those exact reasons for me as well. Okay, we're just going to take a quick break from the Coens. I do have two actors for you, and I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to go our two favorite actors. So your favorite, Jack Nicholson, and my favorite, Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, that shouldn't be hard.
I'll give you an easy one to start.
That shouldn't be hard at all. I got to think, though. You got to think about your...
Yeah, it's... Audience, I challenge you to do this. It is tough because it's... You know, you might know an actor's filmography, but then you're like, then you're put on the spot and then you're blanking. I'll give you a minute while I'll kind of give in my Coen brothers 2 cents as well. So I was exposed to the Coen brothers maybe 2-3 years ago, maybe 4 even, when I first saw Fargo, which as a Minnesotan, you're almost required to watch that movie.
Yes, make you laugh at yourself.
Yeah. And it's probably overdone a little bit with the Minnesotan accent.
Minnesota.
And, but yeah, I mean, Fargo is one of my favorite movies of all time. And then I kind of, it's funny actually. I mean, I had seen quite a few of the Coens movies, but this past summer, I should say, I kind of went on a Coens binge, and I think what are the Coens have 18 movies, 18 narrative length movies.
Yep.
And I watched like 13 of them within 2 weeks, which was hilarious.
It was insane. I was watching his Letterboxd,
just go up in numbers. It was just funny.
It was bizarre. It was so bizarre.
All right, Sam, what do you have for us?
Oh God,
can you do it?
Okay, I'm gonna do. This is gonna be tough. I'm gonna say Nicholson. I'll put him in A Few Good Men with
interesting route.
Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise was in The Color of Money with Paul Newman. Paul Newman was in how do I connect? Oh, Paul Newman had to have done a movie with Nick Nolte at some point. He just had to. I don't know what movie.
I'll tell you, I can do this in one. So I can start with one and finish with the next.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Although it's the most obscure movie ever. So.
All right. I'm going to say he was in a movie with, I'm going to say Paul Newman was in a movie with Nick Nolte. I'm just going to bet on that. And then Nick Nolte was in Hotel Rwanda with Joaquin Phoenix.
There you go. Nice.
That's my guess. I'm gonna look that up now. I'm gonna see if that's true.
Okay, you look up Nick Nolte and Paul Newman, and I'll tell you I can do it in one from Nicholson to Phoenix. So Jack Nicholson is in the movie The Departed with Mark Wahlberg, and Mark Wahlberg is in the movie The Yards with Joaquin Phoenix.
Wait, what was the first one?
The Departed.
The Departed?
Yep.
Oh my God. The Yards?
Yeah, have you heard of it?
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's just like I think it's 2000, and Joaquin Phoenix is he's in like a gang, obviously.
Oh.
And Mark Wahlberg just got out of prison because he went to prison for that gang, and now he's coming back and he's trying to straighten out his life, but he doesn't get to.
Oh.
Yes.
I can see why Joaquin would want to do a movie like that.
This is like right before Gladiator, so.
Yeah. Huh.
All right, wait. So I see Robert Redford and Nick Nolte are in a number of movies together. Can you get Paul Newman to Robert Redford? That has to be a thing, right?
That has to be.
Yeah. We'll give it to you. You're close.
Okay. I don't know if that's yeah.
I've been practicing, to be fair.
Well, no, yours is more impressive because I gave you 2 moderately obscure actors. They're not super obscure, but they're not exactly A-listers. So Joaquin is now pretty well known, and Nicholson is one of the greatest of all time. So
absolutely,
mine's not that impressive.
But yeah, so that's a fun bit. I kind of want to see where that goes. I think it's something cool to do before or kind of to begin each episode. Obviously, we don't have to explain it the times to come, so it won't take as long. But yeah, let's get into some Coens here. So,
Okay.
do you wanna just start from just like we did Tarantino, start from the beginning and go till their last movie?
Yeah. So the Coens were actually born and raised in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. So very near and dear to us. And how they kind of grew up is they would watch movies that they really enjoyed, like over and over again, and take notes on the different shots that were in the film. And then they would go out with their own camera and basically recreate certain scenes just to practice the art of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And they're also both super into poetry and writing short stories and plays, and they do that on the side actually. So both of them write together, they direct together, they produce together. But eventually they got some studio funding. It was like $1 million in 1984, so this is pretty way back. 1984, they wrote and directed their debut, Blood Simple, with Frances McDormand. Blood Simple. Frances McDormand. John Getz, who, had a little bit of a career, but wasn't much in the 80s.
Was John Goodman in Blood Simple too? Or am I misremembering?
No. John Getz was the big boy.
I don't know.
And that's the other thing too about the Coens. The other thing about the Coens is they have a certain troupe of actors that they really like to use. Steve Buscemi, as we mentioned earlier, John Goodman, John Turturro, and you could say Jeff Bridges and Frances McDormand.
Frances McDormand, definitely.
Because subsequently, Frances McDormand actually got married to Joel Coen.
A little bit of Clooney too. They like that.
Clooney?
They like some from Clooney.
I think
He's in 3.
Yeah, he's in 3. Yeah, that's right. So, so Blood Simple, it's a fairly, I guess it's a pretty grounded kind of thriller for the 80s. It's not going to blow you away, but I think it's a solid movie, thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, Blood Simple it's a good start. I'm not going to say it's a great movie. It's a good movie, but it's definitely a great start, if that makes sense. Yeah. Good movie, great start. Because it's obvious from this movie that they have all the technical abilities to make a movie, which is proven later, obviously.
Exactly.
So it's these kind of movies like the 3 stars. I think I have it at 3. They're the toughest to talk about just because they're good but not great. They're good but not bad. So it's hard to point out everything. I mean, the acting's good, the shot selection is good, but I mean, it's not like there's something that blew me away. It's a good movie and a great start.
Yeah, it's a solid film.
Definitely very promising.
We move into 1985, and Joel and Ethan co-write a movie called Crime Wave with Sam Raimi, the Spider-Man guy.
Yeah, I think it's Raimi. It's Raimi, I'm pretty sure.
Raimi?
Yep.
I never watched Spider-Man. I saw like Spider-Man 2. It was god-awful. I hated it. So, Sam Raimi. And then Raimi went on to direct that movie, Crime Wave, which I know absolutely nothing about. Looks terrible, but who knows? But then moving into 1987, this is where the Coens kind of gained some kind of notoriety because I guess Raising Arizona is at a certain level pretty well known in the film community. It's certainly the closest the Coens ever got to like a family comedy.
Love Raising Arizona.
Then I don't know if you'd. I don't know if you would watch it with your family, but like, it's goofy. Like, it's odd.
Raising
Nicolas Cage.
This is the last time Nicolas Cage was good, by the way. 1989. It's not so good for That's so good for Cage. You know, he's had a cold streak that's lasted 31 years. But hey, he's gonna, for anyone out there who likes Tiger King, he's gonna star in a scripted television show about Tiger King. He's gonna be whatever the guy's name is. He's gonna be Tiger King.
I love how we both didn't watch Tiger King.
Absolutely not. No, never going to watch that. Cannot tell you how many times people recommended me that, and I'm just like, no.
Yeah, I'm like.
Anyway, yeah. So Raising Arizona is great. Super funny, really clever. But yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, and we should mention Frances McDormand was back in this. I believe this was after Joel and her got married.
I forget she's in this.
Coen brother, yeah. She's the neighbor, trailer park neighbor Dot. It's hilarious. And then this is also the Coen brothers' debut for John Goodman, who will be a key player in films to come.
Absolutely.
Then in 1990, we get one of the most underrated Coen brothers movies, I should say, Miller's Crossing, which they wrote and directed. This movie was kind of a long time coming. It took them forever to write, and it's kind of their best attempt at sort of a, I guess, like mob movie, and it's really effective. It's really gut wrenching. It doesn't really have a lot of their dark humor. It's more just dark. Well, there is one scene in particular. If you look up Miller's Crossing opera scene, that's pretty fantastic with John Polito, who's kind of an underrated Italian-American mobster kind of character. In fact, his Wikipedia page says he was an American character actor, so he's just very well known for playing this like tough guy, like Italian mobster type thing. But it's a really entertaining film.
This might be a hot take. This is one of my least favorite Coen movies. I'll be honest. It's sub 2. We should note that the Coen brothers have only made one movie over 2 hours. It was No Country for Old Men. It was 2 hours and 2 minutes. But this is an hour and 55 minutes, so it's still pretty short. But man, it feels so slow to me. I won't talk about it too much, but
yeah. It is
not my favorite. Not my favorite Coen. It's just I think it was just so much different than what I was used to out of the Coens, because I'm used to like this like weird dark comedies and really fast pace, and then I got this, and I was just like, eh. So not my favorite Coens, but
this is the arrival of John Turturro on the scene. He plays Bernie Birnbaum, which is kind of an interesting character. And again, John Turturro is going to be a key player for the Coens going forward. Then in 1991, I would probably consider this the most underrated Coen brothers film. Barton Fink in 1991. The conception of Barton Fink is really interesting because while they were writing their previous movie, Miller's Crossing, the brothers hit this really hard writer's block while drafting the first script. And they just took 2 weeks and just did something else, did a different project. And they wrote this movie about kind of this 1930s playwright in New York who gets contracted to go write like this crappy wrestling picture, they're called, which were big back in the 30s. And I guess the equivalent of them today would be like a Marvel movie. Like everyone goes to see them. They're very easy to follow, clear protagonist, antagonist.
It's like a Marvel, or excuse me, it's like that blockbuster essentially. It's a blockbuster.
Yeah, and it's not particularly difficult to write, but Barton, our main character played by John Turturro, finds it really hard to write in this new environment, even if it's just a simple story. and he doesn't want to. He's very concerned about the creative process, and he doesn't want to be pinned down to writing something so simplistic and so unnuanced. And it's really beautiful to watch. For anyone who's any kind of artist, I don't know what kind of art you have, Barton is very relatable in this movie. Just incredibly interesting to watch as he devolves into kind of madness in this sleazy, hot Los Angeles hotel room.
This is Barton Fink is some of their best camera work as well. We should note.
Yes.
A lot of great shots, and I mean this is kind of obvious. Like once I tell you the cinematographer, you'll be like, "Oh, obviously it's great." I mean, it's Roger Deakins, who not sure if you're.
Yes,
I haven't heard of him before. Never heard of him.
Yeah,
but yeah, Deakins is the goat, and his ability to use the camera is remarkable. So
yeah. Well, you could just look at 1917 of last year, and you would know who Roger Deakins is.
Yeah.
And the extent of his abilities.
Man,
so
yeah.
from here, we move on to 1994's The Hudsucker Proxy, which was again co-written by the brothers and Sam Raimi. They really like this guy. Interesting to note too. We previously mentioned this, I think, our first episode, our pilot episode. But back in the 90s, there was a thing going on with the writers' union in Hollywood and the directors' union. Basically, the union only allowed one directing credit and one producing credit on a movie. So what the brothers did is, even though they co-directed all these movies, they technically pegged Joel Coen as the director and Ethan Coen as the producer, even though they did both together. So really interesting. Hudsucker Proxy is a really weird one. I know we're both not really fans. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, Hudsucker Proxy is a fine concept, and it's well done enough. I still like it, actually. It's just like when you go from doing Barton Fink to this, you're like, what happened here? Like, why did they choose this project? It's just about a guy that works at a big corporate company, and he creates a hula hoop. And you're like, what is going on? Yeah, it's just weird. Yeah. It's fine.
It's bizarre. It's kind of, I think I said about it, it's like, if you could imagine like Willy Wonka and Tommy Boy had a baby, like it's that kind of, it's almost like Tim Burton-y.
It does feel very Tim Burton-y.
No, I'm not a fan of, but yeah, it's just odd. It was also a box office bomb. Like the brothers had finally gotten enough, I guess, capital from the studio to put together something they really wanted, but this one they kind of was not up to par, and really no one saw this because it's such a weird concept. But.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's good enough.
Yeah.
The thing with this movie is if you put it in a normal director's hands, it's going to be bad. If you put it in the Coen's hands, it's going to be okay. It's going to be good. So yeah. What's the next one?
Yeah.
Or do you have more to say?
We move on to probably the most well-known one, which is 1996's Fargo.
No, not aware of this movie. What is it?
Not aware of this.
Haven't heard of it.
Oh, you betcha, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fargo. Which doesn't actually take place in Fargo, but actually like 5 minutes of it.
Yes.
I guess.
The opening scene takes 5 minutes. Interestingly, did you know, Will, that
I did know because you've told me this.
The brothers exactly. The brothers originally wanted to title the movie Brainerd, which is a kind of a moderately remote town in northern Minnesota. They wanted to title it Brainerd because a good half to 60% of the movie takes place in Brainerd. And the studio was like, no, because mainstream audiences won't know what Brainerd is.
Brainerd is
a town.
And any Minnesotan will know what Brainerd is, but not really anyone else.
Yeah. But they wouldn't know, like, because it has the word brain in it. They're like, what is a Brainerd?
What is a Brainerd?
Like, you wouldn't immediately, if you heard the word Brainerd, you wouldn't think, oh, that must be a town.
No, that's immediately what I would think.
Makes sense.
I'd be like, oh, that must be a town in Minnesota. It's probably what, like 2 hours north of Minneapolis? Before we talk about Fargo more than just the name, we're going to take a quick break and we'll get right back. Thanks for listening.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone. Instead of talking about the name of Fargo, we're going to talk about Fargo right now, the actual movie itself. So, Sam, what are your thoughts on Fargo?
Like we said, as a Minnesotan, it's really interesting to be able to laugh at yourself. Every character in this movie is, I guess, a caricature of the typical Minnesota niceness, the passive aggressiveness. They really nail that.
Absolutely.
And the idea that in this kind of heartland country, frozen tundra, that something so dark and scary could happen, and these people are so wholesome. And the way that Frances McDormand,
she is so brilliant in this.
Marge Gunderson.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she just I've said this before, and I'll keep saying this. Marge Gunderson is a feminist icon, an underrated feminist icon. Like, she should be more looked up to as a character. Like, everyone wants to talk about, like, I don't know, some woman in some spy movie. It's like, no. Frances McDormand in Fargo shows, I guess, women that they can do both. Like, she is pregnant the entire movie, and she's having, and she's also at her job, like, solving a triple homicide case and showing that she can kind of do everything. And it's the ultimate, like, female empowerment.
There are so many lines she says that are just endlessly quotable, and
yes,
her delivery is so
her
funny.
Integrity in front of these, like, and these, like, dark characters who, like, when she suspects people of murder, the way she addresses it, she's like, oh, how are you? Like, it's so funny. It's so.
I love the first scene with her when they're at the car murder, and she's like leaning over, and her partner is like, "How you doing there, Marge?" And she's like, "Oh, all right, just a bit of morning sickness."
I got you some coffee, Marge.
Her husband is great. He's like, "Have fun at work today, Margie."
He's at home. What is his hobby? Is it like, it's painting, right? He's like, he paints like duck seeds from home.
So good.
And the shot that always gets me, if you're from Minnesota, you understand this. The shot that gets me is towards the end of the movie where they're watching TV together, like the local news channel, and the camera pans out, and they're eating like old Dutch potato chips.
Which is so,
and it's like in bed,
And you're like, all right, we get it. Coen's, it's Minnesota. It's so funny.
Yeah, I think anyone can appreciate it, though. You don't need to. I guess you don't need to know Minnesota to really appreciate this movie.
But if you watch it and you're not from Minnesota and you see it and you're like, is that what Minnesotans are like? We're like that, but not. We're like 90% like that.
Yes.
About 10% of it is exaggerated.
Yeah.
So don't judge us too harshly. All right, moving on from Fargo.
Don't judge us too harshly, yeah. So, 1998, the Coens, Ethan Coen co-wrote this movie with this guy named J. Todd Anderson, which is called The Naked Man. And
never heard of this.
J. Todd Anderson guy went on to direct this film. But the real achievement of 1998 is Joel and Ethan writing The Big Lebowski together, and subsequently directing it together, obviously. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. The Big Lebowski is my favorite comedy. It's so bizarre. It's so interesting. It took the best elements of the Hudsucker Proxy and Barton Fink and threw it together into one just fantastic comedy movie. I love this one.
This is probably more quotable than Fargo. I could rattle off 15 lines right now, and I would laugh for 30 minutes.
Yes.
All right. We each got to say one of our favorite quotes. All right. I have mine, or I have my like favorite scene or whatever.
Yeah.
So our two characters, essentially, they're trying to get back a kidnapped girl. So our two main characters go out to get her. So they bring the money for the trade because she's being held hostage. But instead, our one character decides that he's not going to do the trade. He's just going to try and get her back. And this is the second main character, not Jeffrey the Dude Lebowski.
Yeah.
So John Goodman, actually, his character
Walter Krochak.
It's such a great name. So essentially, they don't get the girl. They lose the money. They wreck the car. They go back to the bowling alley, as you do. Go back to the bowling alley. And Steve Buscemi's character, Donnie, goes, "Hey, guys, how'd it go?" And John Goodman's character goes, "Well, we didn't get the girl. We lost the money, and dude's car is a little wrecked. But other than that, all things good."
And the dude is just sitting there like, "Oh my god, you destroyed my car!"
Like everything they tried to do,
the ultimate pacifist.
Everything they tried to do didn't go, and he's like, "But other than that, pretty good." It's so funny. All right.
So, Walter is such a diehard. And my favorite quote from the entire movie probably has to be when the dude and Walter are having a theological debate in the car because Walter was raised Polish Catholic, but in his words, he's like, "I converted after I married Cynthia, who's his ex-wife, who's Jewish." So he considers himself Jewish, even though he's not ethnically Jewish. And the dude says, "You need to get over Cynthia. You need to stop living in the past." And Walter, who's prone to like getting heated, just goes off and says, 2,000 years of beautiful tradition from Moses to Sandy Koufax. You're goddamn right. I'm living in the past.
Oh, there's a Sandy Koufax. That's the most obscure baseball pitcher ever.
Moses to Sandy Koufax.
It's so funny. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, we can't say enough about the Big Lebowski. I can speak there for a minute. Great movie. Yeah. I mean, it we're gonna say it again. It ties the whole Coen's filmography together. Really ties it together.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on from the Big Lebowski. We could talk about that one forever. My word.
No, it wouldn't stop.
So good. It's the funniest movie ever. It's so quotable. Jeff Bridges as the dude is endlessly hilarious. And the Coen's writing. One last thing here. The Coen's writing is so genius because Bridges is asked so many times, like, how'd you do the dude so well? Like every and 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 things like. He's like, that was all in the script. I didn't make up any of it. They wrote every single and Like, how can you do that? Like, how does it sound?
Every man.
That's like your opinion, man.
Yeah. There's a beverage here, man.
And the fact that he drinks White Russians is awesome. So,
yes. Quick thing: if you watch the movie, you'll notice the first scene where you see the dude. He's at a grocery store. He's at a Ralph's buying half and half. You pay close attention to towards the end of the movie. He has the same carton of half and half that he bought at the grocery store, making a White Russian, and it, like we said, it ties the entire movie together. Very meta. So yes, from there we move on to 2000's "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," which I don't know. I don't want to call this an overrated movie because it is a good movie.
I love this movie.
It's it's interesting. It's interesting. What are your thoughts on it?
So this is like the oddest crime movie ever because they escape. This isn't a spoiler or anything because it's literally the first scene. They escape from prison essentially, and they're just going on this journey the rest of the way. I think the interactions between Clooney, Tim Blake Nelson, and John Turturro are just priceless. Yeah. Tim Blake Nelson is endlessly funny in this movie because he's so stupid, but it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of maybe a little cliche that you're just following kind of like the Odysseus's voyage home to Ithaca, but it works. It works for me. I don't know. Do you have any strong opinions on this movie?
I don't have a strong opinion. It's just the idea of like this has been the storyline of the Odyssey has been done so many times.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's a little cliche, but
yeah, it's like making a Shakespeare movie or something. Which coincidentally, Joel Coen, only Joel is making a adaptation of Macbeth right now with his wife Frances McDormand and Denzel Washington. So that should come out sometime next year. So that should be interesting. But yeah, it's just the idea of like so many people have done the Odyssey in different settings, and doing it in the deep South in like the 1930s. It's fun. It's a good idea. It's an entertaining movie. Not one I particularly go back to though.
That's fair. That's fair. I've only seen it the one time as well. So
yeah. So from there, we move on to 2001's The Man Who Wasn't There, which I think very strongly is the Coen brothers' worst movie.
I'll second that.
I don't understand. I don't understand this movie. It centers on a guy in late 1940s California who runs basically his old father-in-law's barbershop. I believe he kind of took over for his father-in-law, and things kind of go wrong. It's kind of Fargo-ish, but it's got that noir feel because it's shot in black and white. And there's not a whole lot of – the other thing is there's not a whole heck of a lot of comedy in this movie.
Yeah.
It's not particularly funny.
It doesn't feel like a Coen's. And I'll go and say this. I think Billy Bob Thornton, the main character in this movie, or the actor who plays the main character, is bad. I think he's bad in this.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just not – he's not convincing.
Which isn't typical for a Coen movie because they're good at acting or directing actors, and I think he's bad in this movie.
Yeah. And the other thing is young Scarlett Johansson, who we've talked about many times.
Who is that?
Podcast. Who is that?
No, just kidding.
Scarlett Johansson, The Prestige. She plays like a 14-year-old girl in this movie, and it's odd.
A lot of people don't know she was a child actor, like really young when she first started.
She was all the way. So this is it's interesting that they cast her. She's fine in it.
My favorite Scarlett Johansson movie, Home Alone 3.
Really?
Yeah. Love me some Home Alone 3.
Is that with the remote control cars and stuff?
I have no idea. I actually haven't even seen it.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Look it up. She's in it. Anyway, so yeah, okay. Man Who Wasn't There. Not great. Not really what you want.
Not one I would come back to. No. Maybe watch it once if you're going on a Coen Brothers binge. But I wouldn't call it worth your time. This is kind of, I'm realizing now that this is kind of a low period in the Coen Brothers
I think
career.
Is Intolerable Cruelty next?
Yes, because we have 2000, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, 2001, The Man Who Was There, 2003, Intolerable Cruelty, which is, again, fine. It's a decent movie.
Yep, agreed.
and they co-wrote this with two people named Robert Ramsey and Matthew Stone, and it's, I guess, the Coen brothers' best attempt at a rom-com. And how we've always described it, both of us, is kind of a smart comedy for smart people. Like, it's definitely higher IQ. A lot of things going on.
Yeah. My problem with Intolerable Cruelty is they kind of go to the punchline, which is essentially George Clooney and this girl are kind of like, they're both trying to, they both like each other, but they're like kind of using each other for their work. And the problem is, like, they go to the punchline of them destroying their relationship for their work like 3 or 4 times. Towards the end of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the 4th time you've done this. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So it's good, but I have my issues with it.
Yeah, definitely. So, and then rounding out, I guess, this low period for the Coen brothers, we have 2004's The Lady Killers, which is the first of 2 remakes the brothers would make in their lifetime. The original Lady Killers movie was actually has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, I believe. Like, it's actually kind of pretty critically acclaimed.
Too, yeah. I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah. And it just kind of centers on these guys who basically commit a heist. But the Coens set this movie in the South instead of, I think the old one was set in Britain. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But the Coens kind of, again, put this in the South, similar to what they did with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And with this one, it's kind of just a conventional heist movie. It's the only time they've had Tom Hanks in one of their movies, and Tom Hanks has been in like every other movie ever released, so that's something. So
Seriously, though,
it's interesting that it took him that long to get Tom Hanks to do a movie with him, and he does give a good performance. He plays this manipulative, untrustworthy, kind of smooth talking Southern professor.
Tom Hanks, kind of a bad guy. Is he a bad guy in many? Is he a bad guy in many movies?
He's a bad guy. He is a bad guy. I feel like I came across a Tom Hanks interview once where they pressed him on this. They're like, "You never play a bad guy." He goes, "Yeah, I try not to. I never have." And then I was thinking about it. I'm like, Tom Hanks is definitely a bad guy in The Lady Killers.
Yeah,
like
he's also,
at the very least, he's not trustworthy.
He's also the antagonist in Catch Me If You Can, but he's not a bad guy in that. Is he a CIA agent?
Yeah.
So he's not a bad guy. He's just the
FBI.
He's the antagonist, though.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's not bad.
In the movie The Circle from 2017 with him and Emma Watson and John Boyega, he does play the bad guy, and that movie is terrible. So.
Is it really? I didn't bother to see it.
Well, that's probably for the best.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, Lady Killers it's not great. It's just odd. It's very odd.
Yeah. This kind of, like I said, this kind of rounds out the low period in the Coen's career. From here, we get pretty solid movies all the way through.
We do.
So, moving on then, in 2006, they were part of this kind of experimental, one of these vignette kind of films where it's a bunch of mini films, short films, all spliced together into one long movie. It's called Paris, Paris, and it translates to Paris, I Love You. Pardon my French, literally. I don't know how to speak it. French, do you speak it? So it's called Paris, I Love You. Don't really know anything about that. I'm sure I could find it somewhere. So they just directed this little segment about, I guess, being in love in Paris, I would assume. And then they also did a short segment in 2007 for an Italian film called To Each His Own Cinema, Chacon Son Cinema. Or, excuse me, this was French also. And it's just a bunch of famous filmmakers who made a bunch of little short films to celebrate their love for cinema. So I don't know. I haven't checked those out, but those seem interesting. But of course, the real achievement of 2007 is No Country for Old Men, written by Joel and Ethan Coen from the original novel by Cormac McCarthy and directed by them. This is my favorite movie, my second favorite movie of the 21st century. What do you have to say about No Country for Old Men?
No Country for Old Men. It has Woody Harrelson, so that's all I have to say.
Yeah,
that's Woody
exactly.
Harrelson. Just kidding. Love No Country for Old Men. Partly because it has Woody Harrelson, but also because it's so well put together. It's one of the better crafted movies.
Yep.
Because there's so much going on in the movie, and they're still able to do it in right around 2 hours, which is pretty impressive. I think any other director, this is like a 2.5, 3 hour movie.
Yeah.
But they're able to fit it all in and still have it make sense continuity wise and editing wise, in that amount of time. Because there's maybe 3 storylines going on.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you have the Javier Bardem stuff, you have the Tommy Lee Jones stuff, and then you have the what's his name?
Llewellyn. You have Llewellyn and what's happening to his wife, I guess. So those are 2 separate.
Well, also Josh Brolin.
Yeah, Josh Brolin is Llewellyn.
Oh crap, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie.
It's great.
Absolutely brilliant. I've talked about it at length on the pilot episode. So
check that out. But yeah,
check it out.
Great movie, and deservingly of the Best Picture it got, which I think is the first Coen Brothers Best Picture.
Yeah, they've been nominated for several, but
yes.
I think. Well, did they win? I think it was the first.
I think it was too. I don't know what would have won. Fargo would have been close, but it didn't win. I know.
I believe that. Hang on one second. I believe that
the 1997, which would have included Fargo, the English Patient won that year. Obviously, deservingly. Obviously.
Yes. Have you seen that? Have you seen it?
I haven't. Actually, it's the first. I've seen every other Best Picture from 1998 to present day, and then from like 1980 to that movie. Like, it's one of the few that I haven't seen.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, interestingly enough.
I've heard it's the most Oscar-baited film of all time.
The English Patient?
Yeah. So that's interesting. But yeah, they have a few more that were subsequently nominated for Best Picture. But yeah, No Country for Old Men beats out even There Will Be Blood, which is another great film, but not as good as No Country in 2007. So then 2008, we get like completely off the wall. Like they just went in a totally different direction, the Coens. And we get Burn After Reading, which
I got me some Burn After Reading thoughts.
Burn After Reading is one of the most entertaining movies I've ever seen. So entertaining.
It's probably maybe after Fargo and after Lebowski. It's one of their more rewatchable movies.
Yeah.
And maybe No Country too, but yeah, so entertaining. First Brad Pitt appearance, and he is fantastic. For anyone who says Brad Pitt can't act, watch Burn After Reading.
Yeah, and he doesn't play his typical role in that movie. He doesn't. Yeah, he's not like a brazen, like buff, tough guy in this movie at all.
He's not like confident charmer. He's more just like he's like an idiot who's attractive, essentially.
He's like a happy-go-lucky gym worker.
Which actually,
and it's so funny.
It's funny because this is from this movie. This is the GIF I send most often to people when Brad Pitt's in Frances McDormand's apartment, and he's like, "I got the guy," and he's doing the snap. You guys couldn't see that, but Sam could. And he's like doing the snap and turning the head. And that interaction is so funny to me because he's like, I got the guy. They're trying to find this guy who left some papers, which mean nothing because this is a movie full of idiots essentially.
Yes.
And she's like, "Is he in the he's high up in the FBI? I don't know, but probably."
The best part of that scene, though, is he barges into her apartment,
and he's got his bike
at like 2 a.m. with his bicycle, and he goes, hey, you got any Gatorade? And he starts raiding her fridge.
Yeah, oh, so funny. And J.K. Simmons is great. Oh my gosh, he's so funny.
Yeah, John Malkovich is great. John Malkovich plays the most John Malkovich role possible.
Oh, absolutely. This is it's so good.
It's so underrated and just a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So definitely check that out. And then we move into 2009's A Serious Man, which I would consider the best movie of the 21st century. I'm not even joking when I say that. I think I rewatched it 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm still enthralled by it. Every time I watch it, I mine something new out of it. It's really remarkable and kind of a deeply philosophical movie that's also a perfectly functional dark comedy at the same time.
Yeah, I'm definitely not as high on A Serious Man as you are, so all I'll say is it's very good. And yeah, I think Michael Stuhlbarg, I'm not sure how to say his last name.
Yeah, Stuhlbarg.
The main character. He hasn't done a lot of stuff, but man, he's good. It's very good.
Yeah, he's really good in Call Me by Your Name.
He is. He's the father in Call Me by Your Name.
Yeah, we talked about recently, but kind of underrated. He's also in Arrival and a few other movies, which we mentioned with Jay's email last week. So that's cool. So yeah, again, if you want to hear me talk about it at length, The Serious Man, go back to our pilot episode. I ranked it number 4 as my 4th favorite movie of all time. So definitely check that one out. So with that, we move into 2010's True Grit. How do you feel about this one, Will?
So this is a very good movie. But it's like it's so prototypical, and it's a little like really like you had to do a Western. Like it feels so drab, kind of, where it's still very, very good, and it ranks high in my list actually of the Coens. But it's kind of just like it doesn't feel like a Coen movie, and I'm like, why'd you do this? It's just I don't know.
Well, this is the second of the 2 remakes that they made, and the original film is actually a John Wayne film, and Jeff Bridges takes the John Wayne part, I guess. And it's going in like, how there's some movies where you see the poster, maybe you see the trailer, maybe you hear about it, and then you watch it and you're like, that was exactly what I expected.
Yeah,
that's basically the Coens remake of True Grit.
It doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, there's nothing new, but there's nothing disappointing either.
No, yeah,
like
exactly.
It does everything it's supposed to do.
But hey, Haley Steinfeld is fantastic in this movie. She's the best part of the movie.
I fell in love with Haley Steinfeld in this movie. My God, she's young too.
Yeah,
how old is she in this movie?
10 maybe.
She's really young.
This is 2010, so how old is she now?
She is like 23.
So she was 13.
13-ish, yeah. So
probably 12 when they filmed. Yeah, I mean she's great.
Yeah, so yeah, her she's really underrated as a child actor. Like the way she was able to just be with Jeff Bridges and Matt Damon and Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
No problem, and stand up to them and talk to them like so spunkily. I guess is how I would describe it. It's great. It's really
absolutely. So, are we done with True Grit?
Yeah, let's move on to in 2012, they wrote a movie called Gambit, which was subsequently directed by Michael Hoffman. Again, I don't have anything to say about it. Haven't seen it. Starring Cameron Diaz, Alan Rickman, and Stanley Tucci.
Not a bad cast.
So yeah, I don't know about that one. But then we move into 2013's Inside Llewyn Davis, and directed by the brothers.
Real quick before we get into Inside Llewyn Davis, we're just going to take one more quick break. So thanks for sticking around. Welcome back, everyone. We're just going to jump right into the Inside Llewyn Davis talk from 2013 of the Coen brothers. Sam, you have the floor first. Actually, I'll just start off by saying you said earlier that Barton Fink was their most underrated movie of all time. I would like to disagree and say that Inside Llewyn Davis is their best. Or not best, sorry. Most underrated.
Yeah, that's fair. I just think the thing for me is obviously both Barton Fink and Inside Llewyn Davis aren't very well known by mainstream audiences. But in terms of in the film community, I think Inside Llewyn Davis does have a pretty steady following. I think people, because it is more recent, people have actually maybe saw it in the theater or have seen it on Amazon Prime or Netflix. I know it's been on there quite a bit.
Yeah.
But God, what a great movie. First of all, I should say that I'm, as I've probably said before, I'm absolutely enamored by the Greenwich Village scene in the early 60s with the folk revival in New York City. Really interesting. And the idea that the Coens could make a fictional story like this feel so real, so honest, and so gritty. I was absolutely blown away by it.
Yeah, and you said it, but it's set in the 1960s, which just kind of gives it that feel of a timeless movie, even though it's recent. Because you watch the movie, and if you told me it was 2013, present day, I'd be like, sure, yeah. They just didn't show an iPhone, you know? It doesn't feel like it's 1960s, which is good. You don't want to overtly try and tell me that it's the 1960s. Just make the movie, Don't scream in my face that it's a different time period.
Yeah, there's nothing, and we should mention that's what the Coens have said before. An interviewer once asked them, you make a lot of period pieces, you make a lot of movies that don't take place in the modern day. Yeah. Why is that? And they just say well, a movie always ages better when you're setting it in the past at some time
because it's already aged.
Right. Exactly.
It's interesting.
Better chance of aging.
Even Lebowski, made in 1998, it's set in 1996. It's only 2 years earlier, but it's so random. Yeah. But why is it set 2 years? Anyway, back to Llewyn Davis.
But I just think that's brilliant advice for anyone who likes to write or maybe an aspiring filmmaker. Is maybe set your movies in an earlier time period. I know the recent one that we talked about was Uncut Gems, and Uncut Gems obviously released in 2019, but they set it in 2012, 2013.
I think it's 2013.
And even that just gave it this timeless feeling.
Yep.
So it's a really great strategy to, I guess, enrich your movies for the long term. But Inside Llewyn Davis is fantastic. Oscar Isaac of Star Wars fame plays Llewyn Davis.
Yes.
I didn't know before this that Oscar Isaac could sing and play guitar, and he can do both of those things wonderfully.
And he can dance.
He can do a little dancing in Ex Machina.
Oh, gosh.
But Carey Mulligan is great. John Goodman as this kind of disgruntled old-timer is fantastic. Justin Timberlake has a small role, and Adam Driver also has a small role.
Yeah,
actually,
I forget he's in it.
All this Star Wars business, so it's funny that they ended up together. I won't reveal anything more, but it's just kind of this gritty, dark, human drama, but also strangely uplifting. The soundtrack to this movie is phenomenal.
It is so good. Beautiful. I think I have it downloaded on my phone, actually. It's one that I like to play every once in a while. Absolutely.
Yeah, the song 10,000 Miles, which is kind of a classic 60s folk song, is I discovered this song, or 500 miles, I guess, 500 miles. I discovered it through this movie, and I love that song. It's a beautiful song.
It's great.
So yeah, that's Inside Llewyn Davis. Probably their best film to date. You could argue with me on that, but I think we agree with that.
Well, last one here. I think this is the last movie. Their last. The last movie came out on Netflix. So interestingly enough, The Ballad of Buster.
No. We got Hail Caesar in 2016.
Oh shoot! I forgot about Hail Caesar.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a big fan of it, so I just forgot about it.
You're not a big fan of Hail Caesar?
It's okay.
Hail Caesar is lovely.
It's fine.
I should mention too, they co-wrote actually the movie Unbroken in 2014 with two other people named Richard Lagravanese and William Nicholson, and that was directed by Angelina Jolie, based on the what's her name, Laura something novel, or not a novel, true story. Sorry, biography about Louise Zamperini, the Olympic runner who was shot down over the Pacific Theater during World War II and Japanese concentration camp, essentially. And then in 2015, they co-wrote Bridge of Spies, Tom Hanks movie with Matt Charman, and then that went to Steven Spielberg to direct. So that's kind of like a Cold War era.
Spielbergo.
Yeah, kind of espionage thriller, I guess. And I haven't seen that one.
I just saw it the other, maybe last week last week. Very good.
Okay.
Very strong.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty solid.
So
2016 then.
Some Hail Caesar. I'm going to just read the cast to start here. Josh Brolin, George Clooney, Alden Ehrenreich from Star Wars fame as well, Ralph Fiennes, Scarlett Johansson, Tilda Swinton, Channing Tatum, Frances McDormand, Jonah Hill. That is one of the most absurd casts ever.
Yeah, that's like a Wes Anderson level cast.
Yeah, absolutely nutty cast. And here's my put this on the poster, Coens. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine. Big letters. Yeah, Hail Caesar. It's all right. I don't know. It's fine. That's all I have to say.
It's fine. It's entertaining.
Tell me what you have to say.
It's kind of their love letter to Hollywood, like the golden age of Hollywood, just as Quentin did with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in the late '60s. I think the Coens are kind of same generation, but they kind of found more inspiration in the '50s era of Hollywood. I guess like on the waterfront. Casablanca, that kind of era, late 40s, early 50s. So that's kind of where they set this, and it's it's pretty entertaining. It's got this whole kind of Cold War narrative, which works pretty well. George Clooney is this kind of prima donna actor who's starring in this ancient Rome movie, and then he kind of ends up in real life struggling with some communist screenwriters union. And it's pretty funny, pretty witty, and I really enjoy it. There's even some musical numbers in there. Channing Tatum sings,
and he has his shirt off.
He has his shirt off.
Obviously,
it's not Magic Mike though. It's not Magic Mike.
So, it's good. It's a good movie. I just, I think literally everything with Channing Tatum, I just don't like. I'm like, what's going on right now? It doesn't feel like coherent to the story, so I guess I just didn't like any of that. But
yeah, he feels kind of thrown in there after the fact, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But Alden Ehrenreich is really funny in this movie.
He is good. He is quite good.
He's really likable and charming.
I think it's always a funny trope. This does it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood does it, where good actors play bad actors, which I think is absolutely hilarious. So
yeah.
And in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm obviously referencing Leonardo DiCaprio's scene where he's being bad at acting, which is it's one of the funniest things ever. Yes. Anyway, Hail Caesar, it's good, not great for me at least. So unless there's anything in between 2016 and 2018, but this is the final movie for not final. I should not say that. They're making more movies, but The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, the most recent movie. What a treat this movie is, too.
Yeah, I love The Ballad of Buster Scruggs for several reasons. Because I watched it twice, and the first time I was like, three of those. Oh, okay, we should mention it's a vignette story. It's like 6 short films.
Yeah, I think there's 6
set in the West in one movie, and it's got a ridiculous cast,
obviously,
but they're all written by the Coens. So this project, this movie actually started as it was going to be like a limited Netflix like mini series, and then they decided, you know what, let's just release it as one film. So they kind of edited them all down to more of a length, so they could release it all into a cohesive 2-hour movie. And the result is phenomenal. I think this is great.
What is your favorite of the 6?
My favorite of the 6, I have to give to All Gold Canyon with Tom Waits, because I might be biased here, but Tom Waits is one of my favorite singer-songwriters. So eccentric, so brilliant, and he's also had a pretty solid side career as kind of like a character actor, playing these kind of grimy, I guess shystery, disgruntled characters. So he's got this, Tom Waits has this excellent voice. It sounds like this.
It didn't hit anything important.
It didn't hit nothing important. And he goes down to the canyon, and he's looking for Mr. Pocket, which is a giant, like, gold piece buried in the ground that he's trying to find.
I don't even know why'd they hire Tom Waits. Just to hire Sam Dierberger next time.
I could have done that. I can do an excellent Waits impression.
So
interesting side note. I actually I learned a lot about podcasting from these guys who run a podcast all about Tom Waits, and they talk about his music and review some of his movies. So check out Down in the Hole. Quick shout out if you get interested in Tom Waits at all, like I am. I'm absolutely enamored. But go ahead.
I think my favorite is either All Gold Canyon. That one is great, or the one I can't remember. What's the one with James Franco called? I love that one.
That is called Near Algodones.
Okay, that's what it is? I'm looking at the list here too, but I couldn't remember which one it was.
Is that the Spanish word for cotton? Is that the same thing? Algodones?
Algodone is cotton.
Yeah. Near algodones or algodones? I think it's algodones.
I think you're right. That's that AP Spanish kicking in for you.
Ooh.
We'll have to. We'll tell Senora. Anyway, Buster Scruggs is great. My least favorite is Meal Ticket, the last one.
Yeah,
I can't.
Well, no, the Meal Ticket is with the guy with the missing arms and legs.
Oh shoot, you're right. Okay, so that one's The Mortal Remains is the last one.
I enjoy The Mortal Remains. I won't lie to you. The first time I didn't like it. Like I said, I've seen this movie twice. The first time I didn't like I didn't like 3 of them, and I liked the other 3. And then I watched the second time, and then I liked all 6. So, well, Meal Ticket is fine. The first time I didn't get the girl who got rattled, but subsequently I realized that the gal who got rattled is actually really good.
I think that one is the best one. I think I just like James Franco one and Tom Waits one better because I think they're more. But I think that one's the best one, honestly. It's the longest too, so you get a little bit get to flesh out a little bit more. But with that being said, let's very quickly. I'll just go 18-1 in mine, and then I'll let you go 18-1. Then we'll kind of compare a little bit. So 18-1 for me. The Man Who Wasn't There, The Lady Killers, Miller's Crossing, Blood Simple, Intolerable Cruelty, Hail Caesar, The Hudsucker Proxy, Raising Arizona, A Serious Man, O Brother, Where Art Thou, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, True Grit, Burn After Reading, Inside Llewyn Davis, Barton Fink, No Country for Old Men, The Big Lebowski, and number 1, Fargo. So what's your affinitive Coen Brothers ranking?
I think we're pretty similar. Basically, I would go 18-1. I'd go The Man Who Wasn't There, The Lady Killers, The Hudsucker Proxy, Raising Arizona, Intolerable Cruelty, Blood Simple, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, True Grit, and then top 10 here: Burn After Reading, Hail Caesar, Miller's Crossing, Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Fargo. Top 5: Inside Llewyn Davis, Martin Fink, Big Lebowski, No Country, and then A Serious Man, which, we obviously have our differences on, but I can't help but put that at 1.
So I think
overall, though, we kind of had the same taste, I guess.
I think almost all of it is the same. I have Fargo quite a bit higher than you do.
Yeah.
By 5 places. And I have A Serious Man and Miller's Crossing quite a bit lower than you do for both of those. About 10 probably for both. So interesting there. But yeah, for the most part, we're about the same. The bad ones are at the end, or the okay to good ones are at the end, and then the great ones are at the beginning for the most part.
Yep.
And it's been fun talking Coens.
We agree on the bad ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been fun talking Coens today. Before we get out of here, let's hit a weekly recommend. Do you have one in mind?
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to go first?
If you're ready, yeah. Unless you don't have it ready, so. I can go.
Yeah, I got an idea in mind. For mine this week, I watched on a whim. I watched this PBS documentary, which PBS makes decent documentaries half the time. I watched a really good documentary on Clarence Thomas this week. Clarence Thomas is kind of a personal hero of mine. It's called Created Equal, Clarence Thomas in His Own Words. And this is kind of significant because if you know anything about the Supreme Court, you know that Clarence Thomas is considerably quiet during any Supreme Court hearing. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, so it's really interesting to hear him and his wife. It's just him and his wife just talk about his life. And it's just 2 hours long. It gets into his tumultuous nomination onto the Supreme Court. It goes into kind of his principles on the Constitution, his originalist readings on the Constitution, and in addition to being a film nerd, I'm also kind of a politics junkie, so I love consuming this stuff. So I found that really informative, really interesting, and just a great kind of story about just this kind of a personal hero of mine. So it's called Created Equal, Clarence Thomas in His Own Words, and it's on PBS. I'm sure you could watch it for free online on pbs.gov.
Yeah, man, that's a good one. I'll definitely have to look into that for sure. I'm gonna recommend. Yeah. I think this is the first movie recommend, but we're doing a movie podcast. I'll recommend a movie, I guess, once in a while.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'm gonna recommend a movie and kind of a person as well. And it's a miracle I've withstood this long. So if I could get a round of applause from everyone, I'm gonna recommend Lady Bird. And the person I'm going to recommend is Saoirse Ronan. Lady Bird. I'm just about to rewatch this movie, actually. As soon as we hit stop recording, I'm literally going to watch it. Because as soon as I get myself hyped up to watch this movie, I have to. Man, Lady Bird is one of the most beautiful movies I've seen in a while. By Greta Gerwig, who is endlessly amazing. And as we were saying earlier, kind of that timeless quality by setting something in the past. You wouldn't know it, but this movie is set in 2003, which is kind of a weird time period, but set in 2003, and it's about a high schooler, Saoirse Ronan, who's going to college the next year. So it's relevant for us. And people have asked me, like, what's this movie about? Should I watch it? I'm like, well, yes, you should watch it. But, like, what's it about? Well, there's this high schooler. She's a girl and has a family. Like that's what it is, essentially. It's about her relationships in high school leading up to her college years. and it's great. It's awesome, and Saoirse Ronan is incredible.
Yeah,
and check out all of her work.
It's a phenomenal coming of age movie.
Yeah,
and this idea of, I guess, making peace with the establishment and understanding your parents' shortcomings and I guess coming to an understanding with them and how they raised you and I guess the world and faith and how you navigate yourself and your personal characteristics and how you project yourself out to the world. It's really stunning piece of work. Love that movie.
And it's only 94 minutes, so you have no excuse not to watch it.
Oh, it feels so good. 94 minutes.
But yes, so watch.
One more thing about the Coens. The Coens know how to pace a movie.
We should have said that.
Like they understand. Like you have to understand. The Coens understand. Like people don't want to sit through 2 hour and 20-minute movies. They just don't want to do it.
You're right. They're a nice hour 45, sometimes shorter. So yes, obviously check out all Coen's work. Check out Lady Bird. And obviously, I'm still recommending Saoirse Ronan too. So watch all of her movies because she's absolutely amazing. But Sam, where can I find you on Letterboxd?
You can find me on Letterboxd at sjdierberger. We'll put it in the description as always.
As we always do. You can find
you, Will?
You can find me on Letterboxd as well at willspalding, and you can find us on Instagram at Those Film Nerds. And email us at thosefilmnerds@gmail.com with whatever you want to email us about. Obviously, send us that email of those two actors. You want me to, whatever actors you can find, and I'll see if I can link them with 6 movies or less.
Yeah, that'd be so much fun.
And email us your Coen Brothers thoughts and what movies you've seen and what you think about those, and we'll obviously read it out on the show. But this was a ton of fun today. We had a ton of fun. We had a ton of fun recording.
We've done, we've done 2 director retrospectives now. So let us know if there's like another director you want us to kind of delve deep into their filmography and review and kind of go through, because these are kind of fun. It's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, we have a couple more directors in mind, but we want to do some maybe franchise reviews and some just simply movie reviews as well, just of a specific movie. So let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you want us to do or whatever it is. And let us know email us about anything movie related. We're always happy to respond. And we love to continue that conversation off the air. We always do, obviously. And with that being said, we hope all of you have a safe, healthy, and great rest of your weeks or days, whatever you're going into right now. So thank you for watching as always. And as Sam always says, keep talking movies. Thank you, everyone.
Talk movies. See you later.
Bye.